story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTv News, expanding your view.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on CoreTv News at 7. I am Ebunlomo Adekunle. The Lagos State Police Command has assured residents of adequate security of lives and property as year 2014. Charge of Operations Emmanuel Ungu stated this at a meeting with journalists after the State Security Council meeting. Ungu says the law banning the illegal use of siren and restrictions of Okada riders are still in force in the state. He added that police is ready to stop violence associated with street gangs in the war.
The police, the armed forces who are assisting police in doing their jobs, every other security agent is getting ready. We are getting ready. We are prepared. This is not the first time we've been doing it, and we are prepared to do it this time around. This year, we are going to make sure that crime and criminality is reduced to the barest minimum. We are not going to fold our arms and see cult members maiming and killing innocent and law-abiding Lagosians. So we are moving in conjunction with every other security agent in Lagos State. We are going after them. We'll get them. Either you change or we catch you, arrest you, and prosecute you in the court.
Nigeria's largest opposition party, the All Progressives Congress, wants President Goodluck Jonathan to hand over former Borno State Governor Modu Sharif and the former Chief of Army Staff Azubike Ihejirika to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution. This, according to the party, is after they have been identified as sponsors of Boko Haram by an Australian negotiator, Stephen Davis. Party chairman John Odige Oyegun said at a news conference in Abuja that only the ICC can properly try the duo since the president is not willing to act on the Australians' claim.
Now that the cat has been let out of the bag and the real sponsors of Boko Haram have been exposed, we hope President Jonathan will summon the courage today to do what is right. Hand over the identified Boko Haram sponsors to the International Criminal Court for investigation and prosecution. There's no doubt that Boko Haram has committed crimes against humanity in its scorched earth campaign against unarmed citizens. And the most appropriate body to investigate and try the sex sponsors is the ICC. In view of the fact that the alleged Boko Haram sponsors are either members of the ruling party or friends of the president, it is clear that the PDP-led federal government is unwilling and unable to try them. Hence, we are making this call. We want to assure our fellow compatriots, all Nigerians, that they can rest assured that the APC will not allow this issue to be swept under the carpet, as seems to have been happening to our 200+ daughters and sisters who have been for months now under captivity.
Meanwhile, former Borno State Governor Ali Modu Sharif says he's prepared to face any panel in a bid to clear himself of links to Boko Haram. He also reaffirmed his readiness to sue the Australian negotiator Stephen Davids, who claimed that the insurgents identified the former governor as their main sponsor. Sharif says at a news conference in Abuja that he has always been opposed to Boko Haram's ideology and could not be a sponsor of a group he banned in 2010. He described himself as one of the biggest victims of Boko Haram atrocities, while recalling that his brother and at least 5 of his political associates were killed by the insurgents. On calls by the All Progressives Congress for his prosecution, Sharif wondered why the party leaders spoke out after he had left their ranks. He concluded that the opposition party was only using him as an alibi for the culpability of some of its members in the activities of Boko Haram.
Family and political associates. From the casualties among my relations and political associates, it is evident that I suffer a considerable loss on the crisis. Among those killed directly in my family are my younger brother, same mother, same father with me, by Boko Haram, Alhaji Goni Mustafa Sharif, former chairman of our party, the ANPP then in the state, who is also my cousin, Alhaji Awagana Ngana. All my friends, close associates, were called in cool blood by this terrorist group. My candidate for the 2009-2011 governorship election, Alhaji Modu Fannami Gobeo, was also killed.
The African Leaders Summit on Terrorism in Kenyan capital of Nairobi has ended with resolve to work together and create a united front in the fight against the scourge on the continent. The summit, under the aegis of the African Union and hosted by the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, had in attendance the presidents of Nigeria and Somalia, Goodluck Jonathan and Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, both of whom are currently battling Islamist insurgencies and Al-Qaeda-linked groups. The one that failure to act will be disastrous for the continent. The one-day summit also aims to review AU's efforts at combating terrorism in Africa. Some of the leaders spoke on the need to come together to combat the scourge of terrorism on the continent.
I have no doubts that the Nairobi meeting will mark a new and important step in our collective efforts to prevent and combat terrorism.
You will agree that globally terrorism has also become intrinsically linked with other transnational crimes, including drug trafficking, poaching, money laundering, therefore exasperating the threat to our continent.
The choice of Nairobi as the venue of this meeting is highly symbolic. It is an expression of our union's solidarity with Kenya and its people as they confront the terrorist threat arising from Al-Shabaab activities. We will not forget the shocking acts that engulfed this city just 1 year ago during the Westgate attack.
The president of Women Arise Initiative, Joe Okeyi-Dumake, has expressed concern over the inability of the federal government to rescue the abducted Chibok schoolgirls. Dumake, who describes the development as a shame on the country's often vaunted military capability, urged the mothers of the girls and the entire Chibok community to remain hopeful that she and others in the campaign to bring back the girls will do all that is necessary to ensure that they return safely to their families.
I just want us to realize that the rescue is a collective responsibility of all of us. We must do all we can. No, we can never forget those girls. They are today, they are tomorrow. They are our heroine. We can never, ever forget them. And that is why spending 1 day with the terrorists is like spending 1,000 years. Governments, people, all of us must do all we can to rescue those girls. The terrorists are mother sleep. I've not slept since the day those girls have been taken. And until they are rescued, I can never sleep. So girls, wherever you are, It's about 135 days now. We are with you in solidarity. No, never. We can never lose you to terrorists. And terrorists, wherever you are, they should realize that we men brought them to this world. And with that guess that they have taken, they wouldn't have been brought forth to this world. Please, they must release those guys. And as we all join forces together, that rescue is important, it's paramount. The girls must be rescued.
You're watching CoreTv News at 7. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more reports. Don't go away.
You can now watch CoreTv News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTv Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. And Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, our 24-hour news station.
Thank you for being there. The Nigeria Labour Congress wants the federal government to keep a close watch on people placed under surveillance as a result of the Ebola virus disease. NLC General Secretary Peter Ozoeson, who stated this at a news conference in Abuja, also described the unauthorized movement of these persons as a threat to efforts to contain the disease. He argued that acts such as the one that led to the spread of the disease to Port Harcourt constitutes severe breach of protocol which should not be condoned.
The important thing is that medically these things need to be followed, because it is true that the general symptoms of Ebola are also symptoms of other maladies. We need to always wait for the confirmation of the test. And so we hope that the reported Kaduna case will turn out not to be Ebola. But if it turns out to be, it is also again to follow the laid down process that the Ministry of Health has coordinated very well of ensuring that they now trace the contacts from which the person may have been infected, and then trace all those who have had contacts. And for us, the NLC, and on behalf of our workers, our general appeal is that citizens must realize the importance of following instructions.
Now that more than 3 medical personnel have died from Ebola virus, health workers have been undergoing training on the best way to tackle the disease. The one-day session, which is facilitated by the Medical and Health Workers Union, is meant to equip those who will eventually pass down the knowledge to other health workers. But the union also wants the authorities to ensure that health workers are well protected to curtail further spread of the disease.
These are health workers. They have come from across the country to be trained on new ways of handling the treatment of the deadly Ebola virus. Some of them are from states yet to be affected by the virus, but they are here to take part in the training to prepare them for the unknown. Some participants say the training on handling the spread of the virus is timely.
Honestly, this workshop couldn't have come at a better time than now, because like you have known, Ebola is not only an international emergency, but also an emergency here in Nigeria. And protective issues have to be put in place so that the spread of the virus can be curtailed. So this workshop is particularly designed to equip health workers on how to prevent the spread of the deadly disease.
Yes, actually, it is a timely one, because even when we are now in the scare of Ebola in my state, all of you are aware that somebody escaped from Lagos and imported the disease into River State, and right now the government is trying to manage it. So this workshop wouldn't have been more timely than this. Now we have come to learn how the disease can be managed, prevented, and even controlled amongst the healthcare delivery professionals, because we are the first contact. And so if we have a first-hand knowledge of how we can protect, I think it will go a long way to prevent the further spread of this deadly virus.
For this health worker, providing health insurance will enhance healthcare service delivery in the country.
There should be sufficient, insurance. Insurance when you know that if peradventure, in the course of rendering services, and you are affected,
or something unwholesome happen to you, that your family will be protected. You'll be all out there, to give services without, not minding the interests of the federation and maybe what I can call the interest of the federation will be at your, you have it at your heart. We think that government should provide, really robust insurance that will give the health workers, what it takes to go out there and render the services for the nation.
As the medical workers chart a course forward to contain the Ebola virus, they want the authorities to employ more health care workers. But they also insist that nothing is too much to be done to win the war against the virus.
Civil rights activists say government's response to the outbreak of Ebola virus has created panic amongst Nigerians. They also urge politicians not to politicize the processes involved in dealing with the disease. The activists who gathered under the Say No campaign urged government to be accountable to the people in its quest to mobilize resources against Ebola disease.
These political leaders are simply just trying to take opportunity with every disaster that confronts us, to use it to mop up and siphon money, and money that will not be appropriated for, so that money that cannot be traced. You cannot, because if it's not appropriated for, you cannot trace it, you cannot account for it, and nobody can hold you accountable.
Effective disaster management response, which unfortunately we are not having. And we are worried and concerned that not only Ebola, many of such disasters have come, and that's how it has been, treated in that, haphazard manner. If you have an effective, efficient, disaster framework, management, you'll be able to deal with this manner in a manner that you do not create the kind of panic. Remember the first week when the executive council goes to the executive council meeting, they said that nobody should shake hands. That's in itself, was, apart from it was a contradiction, it was not sustainable. It shows that the Nigerian leaders are not even serious, because a few days after, we saw Mr. President shaking hands, we saw governors shaking hands, we saw ministers shaking hands. We were in the national conference, we saw how the president himself was shaking hands of all the other people there. All the ministers there were shaking our hands. We also shake hands. A response to issues, so that it is not just as it comes. Now we begin to think on what to do, and that is why they didn't know what to do, with the various patients that we have in those.
Ahead the 2015 deadline by the National Broadcasting Commission to implement the new Broadcasting Act that will strictly govern the transmission and reception of television signals in the post-digital era, the Sokoto State Commissioner for Information, Danladi Baku, has encouraged all media owners and content providers to take this as a step in the right direction for the Nigerian media. He explains the feasibility of the project.
Digitization started as far back as 2001. The issues were discussed at the ITU conference in Geneva and at so many other ITU conferences. And so many other countries have gotten to that level. We are just catching up now. There are countries that have been digitized since about 2006, 2007. We are just arriving at that point now. But really and truly, we can do it, and I think we're on course to do it. The National Broadcasting Commission has set out the guidelines. The federal government set up a team of technocrats called the Digi team, and I think they have set out the standards. What they've done also is to set up the platforms, the signal distributor. The signal distributor, NTA will carry one platform, and I think another platform has just been approved. I think it's Pinnacle. Then probably there will be a third platform. Now every broadcaster is supposed to piggyback on each one of those platforms for you to get your footprints onto the particular locality where you are. And I think so far so good. I envisage that most of the stations in the state governments and federal government circles will piggyback on the NTA platform, which is Star Times. And I think others that can piggyback on Pinnacle will be most of the private. Although I know that the private and concerns and media are trying to look for another platform apart from Pinnacle. But I think there are two that are registered now. and probably a third one, so that you can have a choice of what to put your. You don't need transmitters, you don't need to bother about transmission, you just go ahead and produce content. And the truth of the matter is that the rest of the world had done that long time ago. The broadcast houses should just concern themselves with content. Transmission is another ball game completely. Another set of bodies will take care of transmission. The way it is with power. Power, you have generation, you have transmission, you have distribution, all of that. So now, broadcast houses will concern themselves with production of content, and the transmission will be left to the signal distributors, where here I think there are 3 platforms: the NTA Star Times platform, Pinnacle platform, and probably one more that will be added.
As the crisis that has taken over Nigerian football shows no sign of abating, a member of the Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and former board member of the defunct Nigerian Football Association, Paul Bassi, has sounded a note of warning to the warring parties of an impending FIFA ban. Bassi, a veteran sports analyst, says the avoidable crisis is based solely on the alleged selfish drive by some individuals to take over the leadership of the nation's football body, using the seat, which he added is against FIFA's rules.
Nigeria is in the process of changing the leadership of Nigerian Football Federation. After 4 years of the Aminu Megari administration, we were supposed to have an election in August. But suddenly, there were attempts, moves to rush him out of the office before his term expired. And FIFA says, no, you don't do it that way. FIFA says there must be an election. By the 4th of September, elections are not held as stipulated by FIFA. FIFA will have no choice but to ban Nigeria, suspend Nigeria from world football. Those who are trying to hold this country to ransom are selfish. They are thinking more of themselves than of this country, and they should please comply with FIFA directive, because we'll hold them responsible should this country be suspended from world football. The only way out is for the minister to tell those who are now in power, because he has supported them, to tell them to leave. That is the only way. If they don't leave by latest the 4th of September, definitely I can assure you this country will be suspended. Football especially, we're talking about football and not even sports. It's like a religion in Nigeria. You know, everybody, whenever Nigeria is playing, you can imagine the millions of people that forget about religion, forget about ethnic consideration, forget about tribe, and come together. You know, you see people hugging themselves on the streets when Nigeria does well. That is how big football is in this country.
It's the CoreTv News at 7. We'll take another break and we'll be back with more stories outside Nigeria. Don't go away.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
If you are a sitting governor and the opposition is able to stomach structure against you, that means you are wicked to the people.
Give me 20 minutes to move or they will shoot me.
He has no chance for survival. If he likes himself, this is the best time to get out before he perishes.
The PDP as a ruling party has failed.
So anybody who thinks that government will fold his hands and allow miscreants to take over the streets of our own state and cause havoc is deceiving himself.
The good, bad, ugly and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on CoreTv News.
Thank you so much for being there. United States President Barack Obama says the United States will not be intimidated by the Islamic State after the beheading of a second American journalist by the Sunni extremists. Condemning the horrible act of violence, he says Washington's goal is for the Islamic State to no longer pose a threat to the region. He stressed that it will take time and that it can only succeed in close cooperation with partners in the region.
That today the prayers of the American people are with the family of a devoted and courageous journalist, Stephen Sotloff. Overnight, our government determined that tragically Stephen was taken from us in a horrific act of violence. Like people around the world, Americans are repulsed by their barbarism. We will not be intimidated. Their horrific acts only unite us as a country and stiffen our resolve to take the fight against these terrorists. Those who make the mistake of harming Americans will learn that we will not forget and that our reach is long and that justice will be served.
And now to Ukraine. President Petro Poroshenko has announced that he and Russia's Vladimir Putin had agreed to a permanent ceasefire in the east of the former Soviet Union. Poroshenko's office said the agreement was reached in a telephone exchange that was preceded only a few hours by Barack Obama's arrival in former Soviet Estonia. Leaders from the 28-nation Western military bloc are due to agree on the creation of a 4,000-strong force that could be deployed within 2 days to meet any perceived Russian military movement in Eastern Europe. Poroshenko's stunning announcement came more than 4 months into a war that has claimed more than 2,600 lives and plunged relations between Moscow and Kiev's Western allies to its lowest since the Cold War. The declared end to hostilities appeared to confirm Western allegations that Putin had a direct hand in the conflict, even though he has denied any role and claimed he is in no position to negotiate on the rebels' behalf. And that's all we have for you on CoreTv News at 7. Join me again at 9:45 for the primetime news. Thank you for watching. I am Ebun Lomo Adekunle.